Hello everyone. Good evening to everybody here. Welcome to the Gmat Club weekend special webinar about Master's Studies along with the Red Pen. My name is Tripti Singh. I'm from the Red Pen. We are going to begin our presentation momentarily. We're just going to wait for a minute or two till other people join us today. I would love for, in the meanwhile, for some of you to share where you're logging in from today. Where are you live from? Please leave comments so I can get a little bit of an idea about who I'm talking to and where you are from. Also, you could also share with me what program are you considering, which part of the presentation kind of attracts you to the presentation today. Are you looking at a master's in management or finance, or is it computer science or data science? Let me know. It'll be really fun to kind of include all of those conversations in my presentation. Have you been seeing colleges already? Do you already know what you want to consider when you're shortlisting your college? Let's find out. Hi, we have somebody representing the East. That's nice. Hi, Agnew. All right, that's perfect. We have somebody looking at an MIM. Thank you for joining us on time, everyone. Steve, ni hao. It's nice to see everybody joining in today. Thank you for being on time. Just give us another minute or two, and then we'll wait for the little bit of the crowd to build up, also anticipation to build up, and then we'll start. Yes, Dia, we are definitely going to talk about MS Finance or MFin, like we call it. And the focus is not really about as much as about shortlisting colleges, but also about understanding what you're looking for. I've noticed post-COVID, there has been an influx of information on the internet. Everybody's putting webinars out there. Everybody's putting a lot of information out there, even universities, because they cannot visit countries anymore. So students often, when I speak with them through my counseling sessions, are sharing with me how confused they are, how overwhelmed they are with the amount of information available on the internet. So I think this was like the GMAT Club and the Red Pen initiative to bring to you an expert advice and an expert voice on exactly what to focus on, just to cut through the noise that's out there. Hi, I'm loving the interest in MIM. It's so exciting. 2 years ago, not many people knew about Masters in Management. So I'm thinking, yeah, great. There's information going out there. That's awesome. We have people joining in from all parts of India, and it's fantastic. We also have an international applicant, a few prospective applicant joining in, and that's fantastic as well. I think it's time. Let's start. I think we have enough engagement already. Yes, there are people out here who are confused, and the whole point is to answer questions for you at the end of the session. I do want to specify that actually will have a Q&A session at the end. So please stay back right till the end of the presentation, and then I will give you an opportunity to leave questions in this comment section. You can continue putting the questions in there as they come into your mind, and I will answer them at the end of the presentation. So, good evening, everyone. Once again, welcome to the presentation. My name is Tripti Singh. Over the last 16 years, I have made a lot of headway in kind of collecting a bank of information and knowledge that I am very clear about updating regularly. I visit a lot of campuses, I meet a lot of admission officers, and I make sure that I'm connected with information from every part of the world. So I actually bring to you, prospective applicants, the right information from an expert's voice to ensure that you have the perfect guidance when you're considering applying for a master's degree abroad. At the Red Pen, the one key element of our entire work is to empower the student or the applicant community. We don't want applicants to get scammed. We don't want applicants to get the wrong information. We don't want applicants to think that they need to undersell themselves or oversell themselves. We want you to find the ideal fit, the perfect fit, like we call it the Red Pen, of a dream college. So that's the whole point of this presentation today, to bring you the most objective information that I have collected over the years and put it together in a few slides, and then of course answer all your questions. Hi Komi, thank you for joining us. You're just about in time. The first thing that I want to talk to you about when you're considering colleges is to pay a lot of close attention to the location and the destination of study. Now, very often the mindset is that, I will look at one country over another because of cost parameters or because of stay back opportunities. But not many people honestly spend time in understanding, well, what is really good in that country to study. If I'm going to go to Germany and I'm going to study psychology, well, sure, the psychology programs are probably fantastic, Or if I'm going to go to the United States and I'm going to study entrepreneurship, yeah, maybe it's fantastic. But do you even know that entrepreneurship began in Europe? Europe is where entrepreneurship programs were born. The way they do entrepreneurship is not the way the US can do it. And a lot of people are not aware of these kind of nuances when they're looking at country selection. They're looking at cost and they're looking at, well, do I really want to stay back there long term? They're not really going into the research of the location of the course and saying, okay, I want to study X in Y country. And I think that's where, we begin our presentation from today, that it's very important for you to understand what is a country popular for teaching, right? For example, nobody is going to go, if you have an option of studying at Jiaotong University in China and you have an option of studying in a university in the United States and you want to study about Chinese philosophy, chances are you'd pick a course at Jiaotong University because that's where the course is born. That's where the ethos of Chinese philosophy is born. So that's the same concept that you have to apply to business programs and programs offered by business schools or engineering schools as well. So it's very important to consider this. Now, my slide is not all encompassing. It's not got each and every subject that each and every country offers, but this is what is popular. This is what applicants who come to the Red Pen come asking of us. And this is why our research tells us that if you're looking at creative writing, you must have UK in your list. Well, you cannot just say, I'm only going to have a creative writing in the United States. You're missing out on an opportunity to apply to some fantastic programs out there. The next thing that I want you to definitely consider is to understand your eligibility, right? Now, one key parameter of the eligibility are the exams that are needed. Some applicants are very clear that they don't want to give a standardized test, in which case you want to be applying to countries where you are preferred without a standardized test. There are some applicants who are not sure whether they should give a GRE or Gmat. In that case, find out, understand what it intakes. Understand if you give it this year and you plan to go in 2024, 2025, is it a viable option for you? Maybe you're just graduating this year and you're like, I just finished my final exams. I have 2 months before I start my full job. Should I just do the Gmat right now? Should I just do the GRE right now? Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. But you need to gauge for yourself what are the various eligibility criteria for that specific country. And then, therefore, are you meeting those eligibility criteria? And the key criteria that you must do additional research on are the standardized tests. And I know there is this whole thing about waivers right now, right? Like, oh, the US is offering a lot of GRE waivers for engineering schools. So do I really need to give it? Or I have 5 years of work experience. Do I really need to give it? Well, if those are the kind of questions you have as well, please make sure you put it in the comment section and I will answer them for you. Because it's very important that you do this level of research before you shortlist one college over another. Now, I dive deep right into the programs. When we are looking at a master's in management, let's understand what an MIM is. For some people in the chat box who are telling me that, they're confused about what they need to study. A master's in management is a program built for students who do not have a management background. So if you're coming from a BBA or you're coming from a BMS, so Bachelor's in Business Administration or Bachelor's in Management Studies, even Bachelor's of Commerce General, right? This is not a program where you would actually be preferred. If you're coming from a BTech, an engineering background, or a BA background, or you're coming from a BSc background, this is the program that you would want to consider if you want to study management. The other key parameter to understand about MIM is that they do not need work experience. It's a program built for fresh graduates who come from a non-management background and they want to understand management theories. They want to learn management skill sets to be able to get an employment in that space, in corporate space. So it's very important that you understand whether a master's in management aligns with what your study goals are and what your short-term goals are for yourself. Right? The chart that I have put down there below for you is a chart that talks about the employment. right? What sector, what percentages. And of course, this data is not exhaustive because every university has their own employment stats. But this is to indicate to you how important it is for you to take employment into consideration, to take the statistics of employment into consideration. If, for example, you're not really considering you're getting into private banking, you're not really considering getting into consulting, that's just not your cup of tea. You actually want to work in the not-for-profit sector and you are considering an MIM, maybe there are other programs that you can look at. Maybe there's public administration you can look at. Maybe there is masters in social entrepreneurship that you want to look at and not an MIM, right? So the employment statistics, when it tells you that, well, you know what, the graduating class is, you know, looking predominantly at consulting and financial services, and though none of those actually align with my goals, do I fall in that 10% bracket which is going to diversified sector? And therefore, is there another masters out there that will actually align with my goals? Right? And that's a very important question to ask yourself. So employment statistics is another very, very key criteria to look at, not to gauge just whether this college will get me good employment, but to also gauge the short-term goals that I have articulated for myself. Will this program get me there with a bang, right? And that's the idea. So the third key statistics to look at is the employment statistics. Now, going back to masters in management, you know, a lot of us out there, especially international candidates, our college research starts in ranking tables, right? What we basically do is we open a QS rank, or we open some other ranking table, or we go to peer networks. We go to a Gmat club, or we go to some other peer network, and we ask questions of each other and say, hey, which colleges should I be looking at? And most often than not, people are just looking at dream colleges. And that's fine. Everybody should have a dream college in their list. I do not think that people should not be considering dream colleges just because they think that profile is not strong enough. They should definitely do a lot of research into the college, check in with admission officers, get onto a video call with them, send them the resume, and then gauge whether that college is still encouraging them to apply or not. But, you know, especially national applicants, there is a pool of really amazing colleges out there in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in all of Europe, in Canada, that we have never even heard of. But actually, there might be fantastic opportunities to consider. For some of you whose Gmat and GRE score is going to be over the roof, it's going to be phenomenal. Maybe these colleges will make it to your target list. But hey, it's a great college to have on your target list. For some of you who might aspire for a great score but get an average Gmat GRE score and your GPA is average as well, you might actually find that a city or a Warwick or a Colorado or a Manhattan are schools that are actually fantastic dream options to have in your list. So you must look at a very realistic college list. And that's where this piece of the conversation comes in, that your list has to have dream colleges, so prominent colleges that one should definitely consider. But one, that's not where your research ends. Your research has to include target colleges and then safety colleges as well. And, you know, I work with a lot of students of Indian origin, from different parts of the world, but Indian origin. So the idea is that we are a price conscious community. You know, as a country, we are price conscious. We are very careful about how much we're going to spend on a master's education. And that's where safety colleges come in, because for a safety college, your profile is unique. Your profile is better than what they wanted. What were they expecting? And your profile is diverse from some parameter or the other. In which case, they are the ones who might be shelling out merit scholarships to you. So what you really want is a really balanced list with dreams and targets and then safety colleges as well. And that's how you totally have a plan A, plan B in place versus just going with 6 dream colleges and then stressing till your admits come in, wondering whether you'll actually get in or not. Now we move on to the next one. When we consider masters in finance, the way I explain it to candidates, is a general masters. It's a general master's for students and applicants who want to understand the finance space, but more importantly, want to understand their place in the finance space. What within finance excites me enough and I wish to create an impact in, right? That's where a master's in finance comes in. Now, when you actually do a curriculum analysis of a master's in finance program anywhere in the world, you will realize that a master's in finance program, the curriculum mirrors a CFA, Chartered Financial Analysis certification, quite closely. So if you are anyway studying for your CFA, maybe an MFin program will actually leave you underwhelmed, right? So you want to make sure that you've done your due diligence, looked at the MFin program before just considering a general master's in finance. Now, finance is again a very good field to consider if you're looking at specialized masters. Because what masters in finance, which is general, which also takes students from non-finance backgrounds, by the way, right? Provided you meet the prerequisites. Is that for people who already have finance in their profile in the undergraduate, you have BSc finance, or you have a BCom with a specialization in finance, then what you want to may consider instead is a specialization in finance, engineering, quantitative, financial economics, risk management, developmental finance, so financial economics. So all of these programs are called specialized masters, right? So masters in finance is general, whereas the other ones are niche, and they give you very specific skill sets, and they're technical skill sets. These are not skill sets that are just general and you're trying to figure out your place in the space. This is about more about knowing the impact that you want to create, therefore going in for a master's to build those specific skill sets, right? So that's where a master's in finance comes in. Again, I'm giving you employment statistics because I want you to consider this when you're making your college shortlist. It's very important that you understand that your goals within finance align with what you're going to be taught at the college that you're considering applying to. Colleges. Again, when we look at a master's in finance, you will have a lot of people talk to you about brand. And a lot of people tell you that, oh, you know what, if you have to ever come back to India and work, if your college doesn't have a great brand, it's not going to work for you. Well, I haven't really experienced that, to be honest. In 16 years that I've worked with applicants applying for finance programs, what we've noticed is that if an applicant goes into a college, which is even a target level or a safety level college, but they perform phenomenally well, they graduate top 1% of the graduating class, they understand the lectures, right? The lectures are intellectually challenging, but comfortable for them. They're able to perform well, they're able to submit their stuff well. They then therefore get the time to interact outside of the classroom with the subject. So labs, simulation workshops, they initiate club activities, do projects, do internships. And those are the conversations that actually get them job opportunities. That's what gets them the next job, the first job outside grad school. And honestly, if you are going to come back to India in a year or 2 years, your brand is not going to get you that job in India. Typically, what's going to get you that job in India is going to be the work that you've done for that year or 2 years in an international economy, right? So it's very important to look at your profile and be realistic about the colleges as well. And MS and M Finance, pretty much everywhere in the world is done beautifully, especially in leading financial sectors, hubs like Tokyo does it well, Singapore does it well, Melbourne does it well, London does it well, New York does it well, Shanghai does it well. So, you have to ensure that the location becomes critical when you're looking at a finance program. So I'm going to move ahead. And then, of course, when you have questions, please put them in the comment box and we will answer them for you. We come to a little bit of the engineering space right now, right? A master's in computer science, again, a generic general master's. Of course, the next step to your BTech in computer science degree, but they do prefer that you have that computer science degree. There are out there bridge programs for engineering students who may not have studied computer science, maybe textile or civil or chemical, and are now considering computer science a master's in, and they do not find that they have the right profile for a general master's in computer science, in which case doing a bridge program. Like in the United States, for example, there is a consortium of colleges which offer a program called the Align program, right? Columbia has it and Northeastern has it, and they offer you that 1-year bridge program. And then once you study that bridge program, you apply for your master's thereafter, right? And of course, the pool is the most competitive, especially stuff coming out of Southeast Asia. So then if you actually have work experience, you give yourself an upper edge. And, that's something that I wanted to point out to everybody out here, that yes, going immediately after a bachelor's, doing a master's does work for some people who feel worried that, they'll probably lose touch with wanting to study ahead. But what's going to actually happen is that you will instead build a really solid profile for that dream college that you're aspiring towards. Some employment statistics for you. Feel free to take screenshots of these employment statistics. If you want to just like go over them again and mull over them at a later stage, I'm happy for you to take screenshots of my slides if you like. Uh, Computer science is something that the United States does beautifully. There's a lot of impetus to the startup culture there. We've seen Silicon Valley, we've seen New York, we've seen Boston. There have been hubs of startups. Mumbai is an emerging hub, as much as Vietnam is, as much as Hong Kong is. So, there are places which do it really beautifully. And the US is one place that you can look at. But then Europe is another place that you can look at. And the thing with Europe and the beauty of the European programs is they are very research centric. So any of you who are watching me today, if you feel like, your profile is research strong, you've done some research, you've gotten a publication, you're currently looking at this summer internship, which is like with the research lab, and it excites you, whether you're going to get into academia or not, but research excites you. It's a very strong part of your profile. You may want to consider applying to European schools because they love that. They love to see research heavy profiles. The US instead might do something like, oh, okay, there's a typo there. It says UK instead of USA. Well, the US instead might offer you programs which are either research heavy or then programs that are more job application based, where they're giving you job ready skills far and further. But there are some research programs in the US as well, for sure. There's a lot of funding into computer science out there. But Europe is a place where you want to be if you do have a very research heavy profile. It might be actually a fantastic fit for you. Getting into ET at Zurich, for example, in Europe is probably harder than getting into an Ivy League college in the United States. So, that's something to consider. Now, when we look at computer science, okay, and for all you BTech CS applicants, prospective applicants out there, know one thing, right? Data science is one part, specialized master's part of computer science, right? So if you look at your resume and you sit back and think about your journey over the last 3 years in college, 3 years, assuming you're a rising senior, you're going to get into your final year right now, and you find that as a pattern, what emerges from your profile is that you have a very strong data science presence. That's your strength organically. You've done well in the subjects, your project is related to that, the teacher's feedback has been that you have a knack for it. Then would you really want to do a general computer science? Maybe you just want to consider going into a specialized version of computer science and just focus on the key skill sets of data science. That's an option, but it's an option worth thinking about. Instead, you might want to get into a specialized field like machine learning or robotics or AI, right? Much like, when you guys, as technical students, you'll pick like mechanical or electrical or computer science. Like that, general computer science is something that, you may want to just choose to understand where do I want to create the bigger impact. But if you already know your strength and you want to play to your strength in grad school, grad school is not about feeling your way through. It's more about the clarity that, okay, this is the impact I want to create in the world out there. Then you may want to pick a specialization within computer science instead of sticking to general computer science. In fact, human-computer interaction, right? HCI, or what we call user experience design. If some of you are familiar with that term, there is a specialized master's in that as well. So you don't need to do general computer science if you want to become a UXD expert. You need to study UXD, right? Or HCI, like some universities call it. So these, again, employment statistics for you to understand what kind of fields you're going to get into, what kind of jobs are you looking forward to. And then prominent colleges to consider, right? When we look at some of these colleges, of course, you've heard of these names. Everybody knows King's College London does it beautifully. Everybody knows Columbia University does it beautifully. Everybody wants to go to Germany to study data science. But do you know that University of Amsterdam is, in fact, one of the leading programs in data science? And not many people know that, but that's why people don't consider it. And it's, in fact, considered one of the top few in the world. So you want to know that, and you want to consider it. And you want to consider it because those are the places where you'll meet the right faculty and you'll see the right amount of research happening. I've been reading lately in the papers about this, Bill Gates talking about this amazing ship that is being launched, which is using a lot of renewable energy resources, and it's been built around the ethos of renewable energy. And that entire research has happened at KTH, which is in Sweden, right? But nobody knows that because, nobody considers these places for their very sound engineering studies. So it's time that we kind of start understanding that, well, okay, now I know my subject, But where else is my subject very, very popular? And I want to definitely give those countries a shot as well. Now, going forth, there is another program that engineers can actually opt for, and it's called Masters in Information Systems. Now, what really will happen is that Masters in Information System is not a pure science. It's not pure engineering. It's an allied field. By allied field, I mean that it is on the basis, the foundation is engineering and IT, and then they're going to teach you business competency skills, right? So it is very similar to other programs which are offered, which are called Masters in Engineering Management and Masters in Technology Management, but it's focused on the IT space. So this is another program that I'm not sure if a lot of people have considered, but it's definitely a program worth considering, right? So you may want to look into this and see whether the program and the outcomes of this program align with where you see yourself and the job roles that you seek for yourself. And then you want to consider this instead of a general XYZ program that you may have joined today's live session with in your head. Colleges to consider for IT, information systems. There are a lot of colleges out there that are offering it. Now, remember, universities are a demand and supply business, guys, right? What does that mean? That means that in one economy, if a subject from a recruitment perspective is far more popular, then more and more universities are going to offer it, right? Now, the fact that there are so many predominant universities offering a master's in information systems means that it's a skill set that is so crucial for that economy that you might actually benefit by studying there, right? So this is something definitely that you want to consider. Now, when we look at Masters in Business Analytics, we are again looking at the same stream, right? Which was data science and then information systems. And now on the other extreme of that is business analytics, which is building analytical skill sets, but to drive strategic decision-making in businesses to generate growth and revenue. Right? So you're focusing your skill sets on learning analytics, but entirely from a business strategic perspective, right? You're moving away from technology. You're moving away from pure engineering. You're focusing, zoning in on the business tactical skill sets, but as an expert in analytics as well, right? I do have a slide which I'm going to share with you guys, which kind of helps you understand the difference between the three of these options that I spoke about. And some places to consider studying business analytics. Just like I did in the last slide, I spoke to you about how it's a demand and supply thing. Now look at the number of universities that offer business analytics. I mean, honestly, we had to finally remove some here because I didn't want to overcrowd this slide. But the MSBA option is so popular in the world that you're going to find every good university offering it. And then the beauty of this program is that half the faculty is from the business school and half from the engineering school. So you actually can pick electives, right? And if somebody doesn't know what that is, you can ask me in the chat box. But you can actually pick electives from either of those schools. And that kind of really opens up the world of options for you to build a very unique profile set for yourself. You'll notice that I've specifically mentioned schools in Ireland in the Europe section. And that's because Ireland, guys, is the next hub of technology, right? Facebook has head office there, as does Google, and so does Amazon. So that means there's a lot of analytical work happening in Ireland, right? And Ireland also allows you a one-year stay back opportunity, which is why Ireland definitely makes it to my list when I consider Europe. And some of the business schools in Ireland are phenomenal, right? And I've listed two of them here. So you want to consider some of these schools simply because these are schools that you may not come across in any ranking sections, but they're definitely worth exploring and worth reaching out to and getting onto a video call with to understand whether what they offer truly aligns with what you seek for your education. I promised you guys a slide to explain the difference to you about what these programs are, right? Like I told you, data science is on one end of the spectrum, which is purely heavily still engineering, right? You're becoming an expert in data crunching. Masters in Information Systems, you're predominantly an IT expert who is wanting to understand managerial skill sets and how you can leverage these technical skill sets to drive businesses. And MSBA is still analytics, but it's not just for the IT professionals, right? Anybody could study MSBA. A finance guy could study MSBA. A psychologist could study MSBA. Anybody could study MSBA if you have the foundational quantitative skill sets. And I can tell you how to build them if you haven't done them in your undergrad. If you want to know, you can ask me. But it's an open for all option. You don't really have to have an engineering background to get a business analytics degree. So that's a fantastic option as well for people who want to stay grounded in quantitative skill sets, because we perceive it right now as being future ready, but still want to be part of a business community and be part of corporate decision making and strategic decision making and build those skill sets. So that, for me, is another important aspect for you to understand that, well, if I am an engineer, then which end of the spectrum do I fall on? And if I'm not an engineer, then clearly MSBA is what I need to be considering if I want to get into analytics and, have those skill sets in my profile. Finally, what are these key factors, therefore, that I'm talking to you about when you're shortlisting your colleges? It is very, very important that you understand that there is no hierarchy to this, right? Each factor has to be aligned to your priorities for yourself, right? For me, as an expert, my advice to you is start at the curriculum. First, explore your curriculum. Check whether the curriculum aligns with your short-term goals or not, right? Looking at all those parameters that I spoke to you about, the employment statistics, and reach out to the universities and see what companies are, what kind of roles are they getting, what companies, all of that, right? That according to me should be your first priority, right? Then check your eligibility, right? Do you have the minimum entry requirement? Some countries have a minimum entry requirement. Do you have the GRE score, the average GRE score of what the university asks for? Do you have the average Gmat score? Look, remember, they are averages. That means that there is a range that they'll admit. But typically, if a university says the average GRE score of this class is 326, well, if you have a 309, maybe you want to consider giving it again to meet that, get closer to that as much as possible, right? So definitely look at your eligibility as a second option. Again, this is my ranking, my priorities for an applicant who I work with. You can choose your own, right? Then look at the employment statistics for the exact same reason that I told you. Does it align with my short-term goals? Short-term goals are critical, very, very critical, right? If I'm going to spend so much time studying MS Business Analytics and I'm not going to get the right opportunities as a machine learning expert, why would you study business analytics, right? So then come the three other parameters, right? Because these three, according to me, should be your top three priorities in that order: curriculum, eligibility, employment statistics. Then look at the location and gauge the location to look at a couple of things. One, is the weather conducive for me? Not whether my uncle lives there, not to check whether, is it going to be very convenient for me to travel to the rest of Europe and have a good time? Check things which are really personal for you, like, is the weather conducive for me? Is it a rural campus or an urban campus? Is it some place where I'm going to be easy to come back home to, travel in and out of? Am I okay with a rural campus? Cornell University, for example, it's a rural campus. It's an Ivy League college, sure, but it's really far away from the rest of the civilization, and you really need a car to get around and in and out of campus, right? That may not actually be something that's worthy for somebody to look at. When we look at University of Michigan, Michigan is a completely campus culture. The sports teams are on campus. You're going to each other's dorm rooms or little of those apartments on campus, and you're hanging out in the evenings together. You are having a lot of events, cultural events on campus. The McDonald's on campus, maybe there's another beer pub on campus. So there's a lot happening. The campus life is very engaging, and it's exactly like what we see in the movies for the United States. You go to New York University, you go to Columbia, as soon as class gets over, everybody disperses because it's like living in any other tier 1 city, right? It's on the clock. Everybody has somewhere to be in New York. So is that something that you're comfortable with? If you're coming from Bhopal versus you're coming from Delhi, you might have very different experiences and expectations out of your college, grad school life. So you want to make sure that the location works for you and who you are as a person. You're going there as an adult. Of course, everybody adapts. But to what level and how much your comfort is in that adaptability, right? I had a mother once who I was working with the applicant, and she told me, my daughter must go to New York because we are relatives in New Jersey. And she has to go visit those relatives, It's similar to a mother who might say, my daughter has to go to London School of Economics because we have relatives in London, but now she wants to go to Warwick and study, right? And then she goes to Warwick, and there's other students, she went to New York and studied. And then a couple of years later, after that girl had graduated and the mother's, just called me up to give me an update. She said, but the aunt was so upset because this girl never went to New Jersey to meet her. After, initially she used to go to get her laundry done and stuff. And then eventually, of course, that student got busy. That student had a life on weekends and she had a job on campus, and long weekends were meant for traveling and going and seeing places. And she never got the time to go see her aunt. And the aunt got upset about it, that, you came all the way to New York to live for 2 years and you never met me too often. So, you want to make sure that you have the right reasons to pick your college. The location cannot be just because it's closer to aunt or it's a really cool thing to live in LA. But, LA is hard to live in. So you want to make sure you have the right reasons to pick your location. And then the stay back opportunity and cost, right? And those are, of course, they are very, very key parameters to take into consideration. You go to a program at Columbia University and it does not give you any scholarships, and you have another amazing offer from, say, Northeastern University, which is 30% scholarship, you have a fantastic opportunity there to make a really smart decision. And that decision has to be driven by how important cost is in your list of priorities, right? And then the stay back opportunity. I did mention earlier, I hope you were all there when I was saying this, that eventually, when you do after a year or two of working, your work is going to get you your next work. It's not really going to be that brand per se, right? So don't always get carried away by the fact that, I have to go to the best university because otherwise I'll not get a job. If you go to a good university and you do well in that university, you'll get your first job out of campus. How well you do in that job determines where you go next, right? So always pick your universities for the right reasons. And this is where I end my presentation, and we go into the Q&A session. I'm opening up the floor. Please put in as many questions as you would like. I am going to go read some questions here. And we have some amazing audience here joining us from every part of the world. Is MIM available in USA? Yes, Om. And that's a really good question because MIM was born in Europe, right? Masters in Management was born in Europe for young entrepreneurs and young venture enthusiasts. And the way UK and Europe does MIM, to be honest, not only Masters in Management, even Global Masters in Management, where you study 1 year on one campus and the next year on another campus. The US doesn't have those many options to do it. US has some colleges, of course, there's Boston has it, University of Southern California has it. But the number of options and the kind of amazing options you get in UK and Europe to study MIM, you don't really get them in the United States. All right. I want to pursue Masters in International Business after my graduation with BA HRM plus Economics. Yes, Pranjal, I think that's a fantastic idea. International Business is a little bit of a specialized Masters in Management, if I can call it that. Most programs will not have work experience requirements of you for that. If you are able to articulate your goals out of an international management course and help the admission team understand why an international management is important for you, then even with an HRM and economic BA, it should be absolutely fine. There's no reason why you should not be able to get a good admit. UK and USA offering 2-year MBA programs in marketing. All right. Vignesh, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to explain to you a little bit of MBA. I don't know too much. We have a specialized MBA team at the Red Pen who does only MBA applications. So definitely get in touch with us and we can introduce you to the MBA manager there. But let me help you understand one thing. There are good MBA schools, which are called Tier 1 MBA schools, whether in the UK or US, and then there are Tier 2 MBA schools, right? Now, MBA schools then have a concentrations, all right? You must look at MBA schools which offer a program that aligns with what you seek to build in your profile, right? And I hope, Vignesh, that if you're considering an MBA, you have work experience, because any good Tier 1, Tier 2 school anywhere in the world will need a minimum of 3 to 4 years work experience. Happy to chat about it further, Vignesh. If you can reach out, I can introduce you to the MBA team and you can definitely take this conversation forward with them. ISADE for finance, Rui, is a fantastic option. ISADE is a really amazing business school in France. And ISADE is considered a tier 2 business school, even for an MBA, to be honest. So it's not like you would really lose out. I think what another great thing about ISADE is that the multiple campuses and the employment statistics are very strong. So ISADE is something that should definitely make it into your list, depending on your Gmat score. If you have a 720, 730 upward, then ISADE is definitely a target. But if you're like a 670, 680 Gmat, then it can be in your dream list. And it's a good school. And the essays are also really nice. You know, they're good essays to kind of attempt. And they also have an interview, by the way. So you may want to prepare for that as well. Are there advantages in 1-year MSc programs compared to 2-year programs? So, Louis, that's a great question. And it allows me to expand on this year thing that a lot of applicants have. So, the UK kind of colonized, the British colonized a lot of the other countries that we kind of spoke about today. Australia, Singapore, a lot of the European countries follow the UK, as does India, right? But what the difference is that, the UK does a 1-year masters, right? We, on the other hand, in India, do a 2-year masters, right? Now, the United States does a 2 years masters, but some time ago decided that business school programs can actually be done much faster because, business school students are a little more conscious about the ROI, the return on investment. So the business school programs got closed into 1 or 1.5 years. 16-month programs became popular. But pure sciences, social sciences, those programs remained in the 2-year realm. Now, the UK Masters 1 year means typically you will study there Monday to Friday and you'll have multiple lectures per day and you won't really get time to hang out and, just like get a job on campus and things like that. They're intense. The US, on the other hand, is a little more flexible with the schedule in their 2-year masters. So you may have lectures on a Monday afternoon, 2 lectures on a Tuesday, 0 lectures on a Wednesday, 2 lectures on a Thursday, and 1 lecture on a Friday. What is expected out of you on the other days is to finish your projects, network with your peers, join club activities, do entrepreneurship labs and things like that. So the rigor, Rui, in my opinion, is the same. It's the intensity that differs between a 1-year or a 2-year masters. Now, if you're considering an MIM specifically, the 2-year MIM programs offered by European and British schools, they probably are global masters because they do 1 year on one campus and 1 year on the other campus. So you may want to look into what exactly it is, but this is predominantly the difference between a UK 1 year and a US 2-year masters, which is that the rigor is the same, the intensity is different. Do you think it's worth considering a target top university like Erasmus in MIM Finance? Thank you in advance. It's definitely worth considering if your profile is a good fit for that college. Erasmus would pretty much be a dream college for anybody because remember, MIM is 0 to years work ethics. So your data is really important, your Gmat scores and your GPA. So when we are looking at some of these programs, you want to make sure that your profile is a good fit. And if your profile is a good fit and you want to put it as one of the target schools, then great. If your profile is a little less than what you think an Erasmus might need, it can still make it to your dream list for sure, right? Mechanical engineer, 5 years full sales experience. Would you recommend MIM or MBA? Vignesh, an MIM is something that you are overqualified for. And MIM has a requirement of 0 to 2 years work experience. So you definitely, if you're looking at studying management ahead, then you want to look at an MBA. Instead, if you're looking at upskilling and you want to decide that, okay, well, maybe I'll do a master's in operations because I'm just done with sales, or I want to look at a master's in analytics because I want to get into the business analytics realm of the corporate side, then a master's is fine. But if you're looking at management, then an MIM is not going to work for you because you're overqualified. Masters in 2023, I will have 1 year of job experience. I would like to do MIM or MSBA. Can you suggest me the best program and country to consider? Sure, Bhavita. Look, MIM is a general management program, which basically means that you, coming from a non-management background, now want to build management skill sets and the networking in your profile to get into the corporate space. And MSBA means that you want to build technical skill sets, analytical skill sets, and understand how you can leverage data to build business strategic decisions. Okay? Both discussions and decisions. All right? Now, there are two very different programs. You want to look at the employment report of some of the colleges, compare them to see what is the job role that aligns out of this program versus that program with my goals for myself, my short-term goals, not for the rest of my life. And then based on what you find as an alignment, you want to pick one program over the other. They're very different programs. You know, a business analytics program will expect an R and a Python, and MIM will not, right? So that is one thing that you have to consider. Now, when we are looking at your profile and we are saying, okay, what is the best program for me to consider? That's a very subjective answer. I cannot tell you what is the best program to consider because I have no idea about your profile, Bhavita, right? If you want me to understand your profile, please get in touch with me. You know, I'd be happy to respond to you about your profile. Uh, Moving on, I have a background of business, 10 years, and banking of experience of I want to target MBA in US. 35, 12 years of experience. Is it a disadvantage? Komi, yes. When you look at your profile, first of all, a second MBA is really hard to justify. Universities will be very, very discerning about it. You know, they are not very happy about giving two management degrees to anybody. The second thing that I want to tell you is that because you have 12 years of experience, you might be slightly overqualified for an MBA per se. You might want to look at an executive MBA. But like I said, universities are very clear that they want to understand why you feel the need for a second management degree. I mean, that even applies for MIM and then doing an MBA 3 years later. Once you have a management degree, right, an MBA school wants to know why you felt that the degree was not good enough for you to understand management and create the impact in the space that you wanted to, that you now seek another management degree for the same, right? That's very, very important. All right. Sorry, I just lost the train of questions. Okay. What would be some safe schools in Europe to consider for someone with a 700 Gmat? Anisha, it depends. For what program? That would be a good thing for you to answer for me. Does UK also offer better opportunity post-studies for STEM programs like the US? Sudhia, that's a really good question. Because here's what you need to understand. This concept of STEM designation, which is science, technology, engineering, math, that concept of a STEM designation only exists in the United States, right? In the United Kingdom, if you are on a tier 4 visa, which you would be to a degree granting university, and you get a master's degree or an undergrad degree from there, you get a blanket 2-year extension. It doesn't matter whether you studied a social science subject or an engineering subject. It doesn't matter. So the UK offers you a 2-year blanket extension on your visa. The United States, only for STEM programs, offers a 2-year extension. For all other programs, it's the typical 1 year. And then you get, if you're in a STEM program, you get additional 2 years. So that's a concept that's very unique to the US. Nikhil, when you're looking at masters in marketing, that means you're looking at a specialized masters. You want to understand the marketing space better. Of course, if you want to go deeper, there's strategic marketing, there's marketing analytics, there's international marketing. So those are some of the programs you may want to explore to see whether that's exactly what you want, or you're still looking at a general marketing degree. Marketing is also something that is specific to that economy. You know, you want to make sure that you're studying it in a country which is happy to take international students as marketing leaders in their country, right? Like if you want to do an MBA with a marketing specialization in the US, your hustle to find the right perfect job opportunity might be longer than if in the UK, right? So cultural connotation, it's all about culture. Marketing is something that you have to be very culturally sound with. Okay. Moving on, if you meet the basic requirements for MPhil, then what are the most important factors for admission in Canada? All right. So, Wakas, when we're looking at Canada, I'm assuming you're from India. If you're not, let me know. And you have a 3-year undergraduate degree, then Canada is not going to be really happy about that. They'll want to see the 4-year undergraduate degree. So the first thing you may want to do is might want to do a WES evaluation, a World Education Services evaluation. Basically, WES is a third-party evaluating company that is trusted by most universities in North America. And they take your mark sheets directly from your university. So you have to request it. And they do a credit-by-credit evaluation. And based on that evaluation, they will kind of tell you whether your degree is equivalent to 3 years or 4 years in Canada. And that becomes key, therefore, right? And when you have your GPA, what you want to do is create a short list of colleges you're considering and then see whether your GPA meets the minimum entry requirement, because Canada also has minimum entry requirements. And then once that's done, then that's a good idea to apply. Now, Canada also has some colleges which are very far-flung. And Canada is extremely cold. So you want to make sure that the colleges that you're picking are not very rural, so that you're easily connected to airports and stuff in case we have another, I don't know, 75th round of COVID or whatever. But also that, the place is not very starkly cold, because then it takes you far longer to settle in. What strategy is the best strategy to select an MBA program? Melvin, you're going to have to get in touch with me, because I'm going to have to introduce you to the MBA team for that question. Sajal, I want to pursue full-time MBA from UK. Please suggest good schools. Will be applying for 23-24. Sajal, again, please definitely get in touch with me directly, and I'll introduce you to the MBA team. In UK for finance, I think London Business School, hands down, is an MBA school that is definitely worth considering. The Said Business School at Oxford, the Judge one in Cambridge, also fantastic options. But these are all very, very high dream colleges to consider for an MBA. But if you get in touch with me, I will introduce you to the MBA team, and they can definitely be more specific with the answer. What is the difference between core courses and elective courses? All right. So when we look at a curriculum, right, it's not that every university dictates to you the exact courses that you have to study all the time. Typically, what universities will do is they will make a combination of core modules, and they will say, basically, to graduate with a degree in X, these are the 8 or 10 or 5 or 4, whatever, core modules, foundational modules that you have to study. You don't have a choice. But over and above that, you need certain extra credits, right? Now, each subject or course that they call it, or module if they call it, we call in India subject, each course or module will have certain credit evaluations, credit values attached to it, right? So what they will say is that your course has 35 credits, for example, X credits, and you have to do elective courses worth X credits, whatever that number is. So you can then curate those elective courses and add them to your core courses, and eventually you'll graduate with a degree in whatever it is that you're studying, right? If staying back is a priority, which country should I go for? I'm planning to go for MPhil. Juhi, I definitely think you should give Australia a very serious thought. Some of the leading business schools in Australia, University of Melbourne, University of Technology, Sydney, they have fantastic finance programs. And Australia gives you a 2-year extension on your student visa. And if your PR doesn't come in those 2 years, which is very rare if you're in a good university, then they give you a further 2-year extension to stay back. So I think if you are thinking of stay back, Juhi, and MPhil, Australia should definitely be one of the top choices along with Canada. Those are the 2 countries you must look at. UK also has a 2-year stay back. So then I would say that UK would be the 3rd country. So Australia, Canada, UK. Is it possible to get admitted in US for masters in data science or business analytics without background in IT? Of course. I think that's the beauty of the United States education. They are not hard and fast about anything. If you, Komi, can showcase that you have the prerequisites, right? And it might mean that you have to register for certification modules on the same online. But if you can do it by the time you start the program, not even by the time you're applying, by the time you start. So if you're looking at 2023, you have till August 23 to make up those prerequisite modules. If you can showcase that, and you can showcase commitment and intent to study this program, that is very clear from your narrative, from your stories, and from your essays, then absolutely you are given a shot. There is no hard and fast in the United States, and I think that's the beauty of their education. Best country and course for finance and entrepreneurship. Prem, it really depends on what your priorities are. Is it cost? Is it location? Is it maybe stay back? I don't know. But when I look at entrepreneurship, definitely Europe. Some of the leading business schools like the IE, HEC Paris, ESCP, ISADE. These are some of the leading Stockholm School of Economics. These are phenomenal business schools in Europe that you must consider. Some schools in Ireland as well. And then the United Kingdom. United Kingdom does entrepreneurship beautifully. There's also an amazing entrepreneurship program at University of Southern California in the US, and Babson College, which it is pretty much a target college, but for entrepreneurship, it's hands down the best. So you must consider some of these key programs. I tried to find more about McGill's Master of Management, Manufacturing Management, but could not find. Is it a good option, or should I try for other manufacturing management courses? Manas, McGill is a fantastic university, and the business school is really good. So if you are, considering McGill, it should not be the only option you apply to. Manas, you should never just apply to one college. To be honest, you should be really smart and do have a plan A, plan B in your list. So McGill should definitely, if you're considering Canada, McGill should definitely be on your list. Their finance program, their management programs, phenomenal. Is it like job opportunities are not there in Europe? Can we prefer European colleges equal with US colleges? Jagdish, it really depends on A, what you're studying, B, what is the network you're getting out of that college, right? In Europe, business schools are really predominantly strong, right? Unless there are like flagship universities, like University of Amsterdam for data science and for TU Delft for data science and things like that. So when we look at Europe, right, and if you're looking at business schools, the networking is critical. And if the networking is strong, it's a good school, you don't need to worry about employment. Yes, in terms of quality of education, it's equivalent to the US. When you're looking at other programs which are technology driven, right, if the curriculum aligns with your goals, right, then it's of course a good fit, right? Sometimes, in fact, students might find Europe to be a better fit because, like I mentioned earlier, their profile is research focused. They are very excited about the fact that they'll get a lot of research opportunities at the European campus versus the US campus. On the flip side, the curriculum might be quite uh, inflexible. They might not get too many electives, whereas the US will give them a lot more electives. So one student might come to me and tell me, I'm loving the European options because it's very research focused, it aligns with my strength. The exact same day, another student might come and tell me, Miss, I don't get so many elective options, I don't want to consider it. Right? So it really depends, Jagdish, on what your priorities are for yourself and how well do you know yourself. Do you really know what your strengths and what you're looking for? That's very key. Is it advantageous to enroll into someone online courses like Edu Coursera? Is it helpful in interviews? Vignesh, see, now that is an extremely, again, subjective thing to answer. And I'll tell you why. That's because, A, are there prerequisites? If there are prerequisites which are specifically quant focused, then yes, do certifications offered by accredited institutions, not just Coursera, right? But within Coursera, is it a university that's offering it? And then pay money. If you're doing those courses for self-directed learning, right? Say I'm doing a research paper on X, and to kind of do the analysis, I need to learn a statistical skill set. I don't know ANOVA. I need to learn ANOVA, and I'm not doing ANOVA in my curriculum in undergrad. So I do a course in ANOVA on Coursera. I don't need a certification to prove it to anybody that I did it. I'm doing it for self-directed learning, right? So I do that, and in my resume, I write, conducted key research on the topic of XYZ, uh, and used ANOVA for statistical analysis, but basically telling me that I know how to do ANOVA, which is a skill set that I've learned. I don't need a certification to prove it. But if I'm doing it as a prerequisite, then I need certifications because those are prerequisites. Anisha, if you're looking at MIM at key business schools in Europe, I think that was your question. HEC Paris is fantastic. INSEAD is amazing. ISADE, like Rui had said earlier, ESCP is brilliant. In the United Kingdom, City University is fantastic. You should definitely look at the program at Warwick. You should look at the program at London School of Economics and London Business School, and Manchester and Leeds. Brilliant programs in MIM. And also there is this body, Anisha, called CEMS, CEMS, which is an association for management programs. And the CEMS has some certified management programs, MIM program that you can take a look at. And those are very, very competitive, and they're all over Europe and UK. So if you get into a CEMS program, it's considered even more prestigious. So take a look at that. BTech student with very good GPA. Can you tell me which colleges should be my dream colleges for MIM? Bhavita, if your GPA is fantastic and say you do end up getting a fantastic GMAT score like 720, 730, then all those colleges that are named right now are fantastic. London Business School, London School of Economics, City University, Warwick, HEC Paris, INSEAD, ISADE, ESCP. Take a look at Manchester, take a look at Leeds. I think Edinburgh also has a master's in management, which is phenomenal. All of these IE business schools, these are schools that should definitely be on your list. Definitely. Siddharth says that he has work ex of 3 years in August, so if next year. So if I join MIM for fall, will it be better if MBA will be better? So Siddharth, do two things. One, send your resume to some of these very dream colleges for MIM, because they will evaluate and they will either encourage you to apply or they will directly tell you, I think you're overqualified. Like LBS will directly tell you you're overqualified. Okay. Some of the target colleges, they might still take you because you're on the fence, according to them. If you are enjoying your work, Siddharth, and you're doing well, you have leadership, you have initiative, you have been able to create an impact at your work, or you have an opportunity to create an impact at your work for one more year, my recommendation, stay back a year, do an MBA. You're then going to truly play to your strength, and you have another year to build a really solid profile, Siddharth. Which university is good for MS in Business Analytics in UK? Faisal, I'm just going to quickly go back some slides, and I hope that you will take some pictures because I had drawn this up specifically for this reason. This is not an exhaustive list, but my hope is, Faisal, that you will look at this, take a screenshot, and get started with your research in the right direction. And then from there on, build on it. Right? What is the career scope if I intend to return to India after pursuing my MBA in top MBA business schools abroad? Vignesh, please read employability reports offered by all business schools in the world, and you will understand that what your career opportunities are. It's very hard for me to gauge Vignesh, to be honest, because I have zero idea about your profile. If I have 3-year degree, then would work experience make up for it? If I'm looking to join Masters in Management and Finance from McGill, if I have 3-year degree, then would work experience make up for it? Typically, Vakas, no. Canada is a little hell-bent on that 4-year thing. What I would recommend is get in touch with the admission officer at McGill, send them your resume, and even check on their website. They pretty much typically tell you that if you're applying from XYZ region, we need this from you. And if they accept work X, then the admission officer will email you and tell you, yes, we are encouraging you to apply. Bachelor's of Commerce, interested in finance and entrepreneurship, and the university should best alumni network at any cost. All right, Prem, how can I help you? If you're looking at finance and entrepreneurship, then you should look at some of the universities that I mentioned. My hope is that you will get the right network there because they'll be really leading business schools. Oh, Tejas, all the best to you for your waitlist. Tejas, I'm wondering, have you sent out after your waitlist an email of continued interest to Johnson? If you haven't, do it. Send them an email, give them an update, give them an updated resume, tell them how committed you are to this admit from Cornell. Tell them what are your reasons for thinking that Cornell is a perfect fit for you. And then fingers crossed for you. Jagdish, MPS is Masters in Professional Studies. It's the degrees that they offer at Cornell Johnson, the Masters in Professional Studies. Yeah, basically it's an MIM with a different title to it. Which degree is the best for MS in Financial Technology, FinTech, accepting PTE? Suraj, it's really hard to pinpoint you in the right direction because FinTech per se doesn't exist. Financial engineering as a concept exists. There are some leading universities for financial engineering. Princeton is one of them. University of Berkeley, California, Berkeley has it. London School of Economics has financial engineering. UCLA has engineering, financial engineering. Affordability is kind of the antonym of best, I'll be honest with you, because any good university that you and I have ever heard of are expensive, and they do offer scholarships. And if your profile is strong, then hopefully you'll get a merit scholarship. But if they're really, really good, you can't really expect them to be super, super affordable. You know what I mean? Because they're giving you a lot in terms of infrastructure and resources and faculty engagement. PTE is not very easily accepted in a lot of universities. So what I would recommend is create a shortlist of your universities and then go check the English language requirement because not everybody accepts the PTE. I think you're better off giving the IELTS or TOEFL, specifically IELTS if you're looking at any other country outside of the US along with US as well. Is it possible to join a good college without Gmat? Okay, before I answer this question, I wanted to quickly check in with the Gmat club team. How much more time do we have? I mean, can I continue taking questions? Is that okay? All right. So they said we do have some more time. Okay. Jagdish, there are some waivers available, but honest to God, I'm going to use this opportunity to let each and every one know. Unless you have a really valid reason why you want to request for a waiver, you don't qualify for one. If you are able to converse with me in English, right, you have internet access, you are fully English educated in a country like India, you typically do not qualify for a waiver. Of course, if you have a reason, right, then you request for a waiver, you might get it from some universities, you may not get it from some universities. But do not think of a waiver as the easy way out instead of a Gmat. That's not an option for us. Yes, and Suraj, I believe your BBA degree from Nepal will also be 3 years, right? So that if you're looking at financial engineering and you're from an engineering, you're not from an engineering background, you have a lot of prerequisites to make up if you're considering financial engineering. What I would recommend is, Suraj, take a look at quantitative finance programs, right? In the UK, in the US, and then make your way from there into the fintech space versus looking at a pure fintech program, which is what financial engineering is, because you won't meet a lot of the prerequisites because it is an engineering program at the end of the day. Okay, Dinesh says he has a master's degree in engineering. Can I do MIM because for MBA I need? Yes, Dinesh, you are the perfect candidate for an MIM. And MIM is for students like you and I who never studied management at the undergrad and now want to learn management skill sets to enter the corporate workforce, right? So you're an ideal candidate for MIM. Okay, Rahul says he has 8 years of work experience in finance. Should I go for master's in financial engineering? Rahul, that's a really good question. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of background about the kind of work you do and what kind of undergrad degree you have. I do encourage you to reach out to me on my email address. Quickly, if you can see here at the bottom of the slide, I have my email address here specifically for questions like this. Reach out. My team will be happy to get in touch with you and help you understand whether financial engineering is the right course of action for you. Okay. Okay, just 1 second again. I lost my. Which university is best for MS in financial technology, fintech, affordable, accepting PTMS in financial Australia, US for career and capital market? If you're looking for a career in capital market, Suraj, please consider studying in a financial hub. It doesn't really matter which country. If you're looking at Melbourne, you're looking at Singapore, if you're looking at New York, if you're looking at London, Shanghai, those are the cities that you should be studying in, not necessarily the country is as important. And for financial technology, like I said, because you have a BBA, do not consider financial technology per se because you do not have financial engineering as a background, and it will take you a lot of prerequisites. So you might consider quantitative finance that might actually be a better fit for you. Look at amazing universities like Arizona State University, UT Dallas. Look at Fordham University in New York City. Look at University of London. A lot of the colleges are in London City per se. Look at SMU in Singapore Management University. Look at University of Sydney. Look at University of Technology Sydney. So these are some of the affordable good programs you can look at. But if you're looking for best and then you still want affordability, that won't really happen. Okay. Rahul also has CFA, FRM, BE, and MBA. Yes, Rahul, I would really encourage you to, email me if you're thinking of studying ahead because it'll be a much longer conversation that I can have on this group. Is Masters in Management good enough to find a good job in London? And what should be Gmat score if I have a 7 CGPA in undergrad to get into LBS? Pradyumna, I'm assuming you have a 7 on 7 scale, or is it a 7 on a 10 scale? So you're not giving me enough context. But if you're looking at a good enough, is Masters in Management good enough to find a good job in London? Again, good job is subjective, but it's a great opportunity to get into the corporate workforce. Consulting, financial services, those are the kind of sectors that MIM students will get jobs in. And what kind of a score should you get? As a male candidate from India, assuming, Pradyumna, that you're coming from a non-engineering background, I don't know what background you're coming from, but assuming it's a non-engineering background, the expectation out of you is a 710 or a 720 GMAT, to be honest. You're currently working in project management and consultancy firm, Faisal. You want to switch to business background. Will it be a right option to choose masters in business analytics, or should I go for MBA? I have 5 years of experience in PNC firm. You want to switch to business background. Maybe Faisal, doing an MBA with a degree, or sorry, with a certificate in analytics is not a bad idea. Get in touch with the Red Pen MBA team, and I'm sure that they'll be able to help you answer this. If you do a master's in business analytics, it'll be fine. You'll in fact have an edge in the application pool, because you'll be applying with probably the most amount of work experience that class would be applying to, that pool would be applying to, so that you could actually leverage as a strength. But it really talks about your goals. Faisal, what do you want to do after your degree, right? And that's what is important. You want to do leadership roles, MBA. You want to do expertise roles, MSBA. Dinesh, I think I did answer your question, right? That you're the ideal fit for an MIM. I'm sorry, I'm just taking a minute because I'm reading Suraj's question. Because he asked me very specifically if we should go for MS in financial analysis in La Trobe. They have a trading lab. If that's the only admit that you have, then La Trobe is a target level college. I'm not saying Suraj is bad. I'm just saying that I don't know what your other admits are, what your rejects are. So I'm unable to kind of help you understand whether La Trobe is good enough for you or not. Is it a good university in general? Yeah, La Trobe it's a fine university. It's not a problem. Interested in product management, already worked in FANG, have a decent pay, but growth prospects are low. I have an engineering degree from a tier 1 college in India. Pratyaksh, at this point, may I encourage you to please email me your details? It will be really helpful for me to, really understand your profile and give you the right amount of guidance that you need. Does good WorkX cover Gmat? Mizan, it depends. Which country are you talking about and which program? Mizan, if you are looking at studying entrepreneurship, for example, and then you, have good amount of WorkX and you have an average GMAT and you're applying to the UK or the US, it's fine. It won't be a problem at all. But, if you're applying for a more technical program and your GMAT is a little bit lower, they might still not consider you ready enough for the academic rigor of that college. So it's a little bit subjective, Mizan, out there. Which countries are best for work opportunities without GMAT? Dinesh, for business school programs, pretty much every good business school in the world takes the GMAT. For an MIM, honestly, applying without a GMAT is really lowering your chances. But if you still insist on doing it, look at target level colleges in London. I think that would be your best bet. In the UK, I mean. Prem says, which course best fit for me for Masters in Finance for 2021 pass out in BCom? Prem, why don't you share your short-term goals with me instead? You can always email them to me if you don't have time to cover it here. But unless I know your goals, I cannot suggest a program for you. BBA with a 7/10 CGPA, targeting top B schools. Pradivya, I think you might face the biggest obstacle in your journey being that you're applying already with a business degree for an MBA degree. An MBA degree comes from the assumption that you need the management expertise and you already have a BBA, which is a management degree. So that's going to be your first obstacle. The second obstacle will definitely be your GPA, because your GPA is not really strong. So your GMAT score must be really, really strong. But even then, the GPA is something that they will look at. And the third thing is that if you have enough impact in your work experience, then you can consider really, really amazing business schools. Otherwise, be a little more realistic with your list, Pradyumna. Oh, you're going for MIM, right? So when you're looking at MIM, LBS, ESSEC, HEC, Paris are all going to be high dreams with a 7/10 CGPA. Pradyumna. Mizan, an MBA GMAT is a must. Some colleges do accept the GRE. UK, Europe, they prefer the GMAT actually, but there are some LSC or LBS that they will take the GRE also. but predominantly the GMAT. So I think if you're looking at an MBA, then definitely doing a GMAT makes more sense. Yes, Suraj, please email me tomorrow. Dinesh, with an 8.5, if you get an above average GMAT score, then you can apply to some of the good MIM colleges for your dream colleges. Like maybe you could look at, with an 8.5 out of 10, you will meet the minimum entry requirement for London School of Economics and City University for sure. Maybe even King's College London. Maybe HEC as well. So you can apply to maybe 2 dream colleges and, then have 5 target colleges in your list. A lot of that decision will be based on your GMAT score, Dinesh. If you get a fantastic GMAT score, then you can apply to far more dream colleges. Chirayu is asking me what are the best colleges for MIM that require 650 GMAT score. Okay, I'm just going to go back to my MIM slide because there's a lot of questions about MIM, which is fantastic, by the way. I'm just wondering, where are the engineers, guys? Nobody's asking me about data science and computer science. What's up? Okay, here are some of the colleges that I have here, Chirayu, that you can take a look at. Because these are the colleges that you want to start your research with. You don't want to miss out on any of these. These are really, really good colleges to consider. Some of these ones which are colleges to consider will in fact consider a 650 GMAT score. And it's not about a minimum entry requirement. It's more about the fact that, they will consider you rigorous enough to seriously read your application. Nikhil is asking me what course can I choose after BBA. Germany is preferred. Nikhil, it depends on what your short-term goals are, unfortunately. So you'll have to share that with me for me to be able to tell you. If you can email me, then I'm happy to respond in a more detailed fashion to you, Nikhil. Ishan, I'm going to go back to my slide on business analytics. Here are the colleges you're asking for. Maybe you want to take a screenshot, Ishan, and you can start your research here. When you're looking at a 9 CGPA and you're looking at a strong research profile, if you can back that up with a strong GMAT or GRE score, Ishan, because most of these colleges in the US specifically will take GMAT or GRE, but you're better off giving the GMAT. Then you can apply to a combination of these prominent colleges and then pick up all of these as your target colleges, maybe 5 of them as your target colleges, and then you'll be safe. You'll be absolutely safe, Ishan. Anisha is asking me, would St. Gallen consider someone with an 8.10 with a 700 plus GMAT? Yes, Anisha, St. Gallen's would consider somebody with a 8 on 10 CGPA and 700 plus GMAT, provided what is the impact and how clearly you're able to articulate your short-term goals and how your goals align with your course of study. So there definitely is scope for you, Anisha, to look at St. Gallen's. Yes, I agree with GMAT Club. Let us definitely wrap up the session right now. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It has been such a pleasure answering each and every of your questions. I love seeing the excitement. I love seeing the constant badgering of questions because it really keeps me engaged and alert. And I really loved that. Please get in touch with the Red Pen. We are happy to answer your questions. Email me directly. I'm very good with emails. I'll definitely respond to you. If you are looking at 2023 applications, you must start now. It's very important your college shortlist starts now. We also have a series of webinars starting from June 11th. And, if you do email me, then I can send you the event link. Or you can also just go on the website, www.redpen.in, and there's a section there called events. And you can register for the postgraduate webinar there. We are also running MBA webinars, by the way. So you can also register and log into our MBA webinars. Some of them already done. They're on YouTube. Some of them are coming up. I wish each and every one of you a fantastic Sunday, a fantastic rest of the evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining in today, and good night.